TYFU.
I can't tell if we've started our podcast yet or what's going on. Did we start?
I was waiting for the opportune moment.
Okay.
If we're going, we're going.
I guess we're going.
Right now.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Thank You for Understanding.
Thank you
The
for
business
that.
podcast that has nothing to do with business.
Nothing to do with business. Not enough business.
So we hear. All right. Well, let's welcome each other to the episode, Marilla.
Oh, welcome, Beth. Welcome, Sister Beth.
How you been?
Oh, ducky, as always. Just living my life. Anywho, we have some business to attend to.
Okay. Tell me about it.
Season 2, and we can't get slack in asking our faithful listeners to like, comment, leave reviews, subscribe,
Tell your friends.
tell your friends,
Follow us on Instagram.
tell your enemies.
Tell your mom.
What else? You can buy merch.
On our website, tyfupod.com.
That's right. And you can submit prompts
Yes, you
to
can.
us. So
Yes.
every episode, if you haven't caught on thus far, every episode we have a prompt. We rip the envelope and there's something like kicking customers out or shoplifting or, whatever. And we want to know what prompts you would like us to talk about. So you can submit those at tyfupod.com or on Instagram or on Facebook. Or
We're hungry for them.
We're hungry. You can also submit those via email, but let's get down to business.
Well, you got an envelope. You want to rip it?
I think I ripped it last time.
All right, I'll rip it this time. Here
Get
we
to
go.
work.
Yep. Buckle up. And the topic this time is so sticky.
Lay it on me.
It's donations. It's when you are a small business owner and folks come in and ask you to help fund whatever cause is near and dear to their heart.
I'm already sweating about this. I shouldn't have worn this sweater.
Well, you look
Like
great.
I'm already sweating, and there's so many layers to this, like an onion.
Yeah.
Donations.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one because I think part of being a small business owner is being part of a community.
Absolutely.
And
on board with that.
We 1,000% want to help give back to particularly our customers.
Our customers, yes.
And local organizations that we see doing good in our neighborhoods and communities.
And do us good.
And do us good. Yep. So the problem is the relentless number of asks.
Let's just start here. How many times a month do you get approached for a donation?
Well, there was 5 last week.
5 in 1 week.
It probably ebbs and flows a little bit, but I mean, that's almost daily.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it,
Sometimes 2 in the same day.
yeah, that does happen. I mean, I can't, would I say there's 365 donation requests a year? No.
Right.
But I would say certainly in the hundreds.
Yes.
So it's it's impossible, in fact, to say yes to all of those.
Now, are you just counting in-person asks, or is this including on the phone and through your inbox,
or
your
the
email,
mail.
or the mail?
Oh gosh, actually, yeah. I was thinking about people who walk in.
Yeah, if you count email and
Mail.
snail mail
Yes.
and phone,
Yeah, then
we might hit
it's crazy.
365.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. Maybe, now you're inspiring me to maybe start counting, but I also think that would be very, very depressing.
like a tally, like a tally mark
would
on
be
the
very
wall, like a
depressing.
jail cell. Yeah, because I wish that I could just give to all of them. Well, maybe not all of them.
Right.
There's been a couple questionable cults.
Yes. Yes. There definitely are some people who ask on behalf of organizations that I am absolutely 100% opposed to. And those are easier.
Those are
easier.
But for the most part, it's like a kid's sport team or a seniors golf league or a historic event. You name a festival.
The library, the Historical Society, the cancer.
Cancer in general.
The most recent one I did donate to was battered women.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah.
So many good incredible causes. And we're over here about to do a podcast complaining about it.
I know. I don't think it's that we're complaining so much about donations. We're complaining about the relentlessness of not being able to help everyone.
Right.
And some of the things that go along with that, like if you say no, sometimes backlash or resentfulness, a guilt trip. Okay, so how do you want to dig in? Because there are an awful lot of angles we can pick up from.
I've thought of a few stories. I mostly have been overwhelmed by the tidal wave of just the feeling of getting asked day in and day out and being inevitably having to feel like the bad guy.
Yes.
Because you just can't say yes to every one of your children. Sometimes like when they're all asking for something, it's gotta be that kind of a feeling. But one story came to mind. One time I had 3 people from separate organizations come in at the same time, all asking me for donations for separate things. And here I am, a young waif, just trying to make it in the world. And I couldn't say yes to all of them, so I couldn't say yes to any of them because then literally the 2 other people would... It was
very uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. And I don't... Maybe behind closed doors, I could have picked one.
Yeah, and reached back out to them later.
But I didn't. I just panicked. I said, no. Leave. No, I don't have any money. So yeah, that happened to me. And I lived to tell the tale.
Right. I mean, there's so many stories about being asked for money. One that comes to mind for me is I got an email. This was an email request.
Okay.
Someone who was launching a community garden.
Love that idea.
And I was intrigued. And they asked me for a very specific item in my inventory. Would you consider donating this for to help the cause?
Right.
And I was like, well, interesting, because the item that they wanted me to donate had nothing to do with community gardens. So I decided...
It wasn't a gardening book?
It was not a gardening book. No.
My mind immediately jumped to gardening books.
So I was like, well, tell me more about your event or your
community
strategy here.
Yes.
Your community garden. Where are you located? And they wrote back and told me as the small town in Alabama where they were located. And that made me pause.
Yeah.
Because my business is in upstate New York.
This is true.
I had gone into the conversation with the assumption that this community garden would be somewhere in New York State.
So what you're telling me is
somewhere in the New England Northeast,
yes,
up, lower Canada kind of situation.
Beth is going into this interaction expecting some fresh tomatoes on her plate from the
for my neighbors to have some at least
from the community garden. Yeah, yep.
So I did decline that one, but this is also just is the breadth. People are asking from all corners of the country or the globe at all times.
Yep.
And it's just, you just can't say yes to all of them. And I did actually start to wonder if maybe this person was
scamming.
Yep.
Perhaps it was a scam. You see?
Do you ever feel like you've been asked for donations that were scammy?
Yes.
Once or twice.
Oh man, I don't know if I talked about this before, but stop me if I have.
I never get tired of hearing your stories, Marilla, even if I've heard them 5 or 10 times before.
This. Okay. I try to avoid too much cynicism when it comes to people coming in and asking for donations. Let me just start there.
As a disclaimer for what you're about to tell us.
Picture this. It's the holidays. Christmas is in the air. 2 little boys under the age of 11 walk in the door.
Yes. I feel like I have heard the story, but go ahead, please.
Yes. 2 young children walk through the door and they have treats in their hands, popcorn, things like that. And they came up to the counter and they were going around asking for donations for children in need. And they were selling popcorn and it was $5 a bag. Did I want to help children in need?
You said, no, little brats.
Go on.
Get out of here.
See? Yeah. So my initial thought, God forgive me, was this is fake. You kids are scamming me. But upon reevaluating it and their adorable little faces, I did grab $5 and purchase a bag of popcorn for children in need. And if I didn't have cash, they said that I could Venmo their mom. And it was at that moment when I was like, not a bad gig. Not a bad gig.
Why didn't I think of that?
And so anyway, I forked over the $5. I took the cheddar popcorn and I don't know. Do I feel bad about it? No. If I was helping,
eat it?
Yeah, I did.
And they could have been children in need.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like, okay, whatever. Is his mom? Are their mom dropping them off, going in and getting an easy $5 from people who think her kids are cute? Maybe. But maybe her kids are the ones in need of $5.
We support entrepreneurship in all sorts of forms.
I am here for it. So yeah, that was one time that I mean, it could have been fine. Could have been on the up and up. Who knows? The popcorn was pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not clearly a scam, like not a criminal enterprise. It was more like I'm not sure if you're connected with any formal organization or charity.
Right.
But this is still worth donating to the cause.
Right. Because they said, children in need. And to bring it back to the subject of like all these places needing donations, they were asking for donations for children in need. And I was like, oh, with what group? And they were like, just kids. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, everybody needs donations.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you ever ask anybody for proof that they're connected with an organization? Do you ask them for their, not-for-profit, tax-exempt number or anything like that?
No.
You just take them at face value.
I really don't. Perhaps when we get to a point that we're millionaires from our podcast, we'll be able to be writing donation checks that we really need to
verify.
We really need to verify
where that money's going.
But so far, no, I don't. Do you? Have you ever asked for somebody's credentials before writing a check?
Sometimes I'll ask some questions. I do have a strategy for coping with the number of donations and people just randomly walking in. Okay. I will sometimes ask them to fill out a donation request form.
Ooh.
And now this is the smartest thing that I've ever thought of, really. Okay. Probably ever thought of.
All right.
Because it really
Let it be known.
Weeds out the people who are seriously trying to raise money for a legit organization and a valid cause, and the guy who's just seeing if you're going to hand them, a $50 gift certificate or whatever it is.
Right.
If they have to actually spend 5 minutes filling out a form and telling me who they are. And one of the questions that I have on this form is, have I donated to your organization in the past? I don't always have that information right off the top of my head, but I like to know if they're paying attention.
Right.
Does this do they even notice
who you are,
who I am, and that this costing me something?
Yeah.
Do they have any knowledge of what I as a business have already given to them?
Yeah, that is a big feeling. And I think that's an ingenious way to kind of communicate that subtly and a little passive aggressively. I like it. I'm into it. Because yes, you do sometimes feel like, okay, you're coming in, you're putting this social and emotional burden on me.
And financial.
And I don't know about you, Beth, but quite frequently, and this is not all, but there is a large percentage of people that come in asking for donations that have never spent a dime in my store. And I don't know if I'm just a stinker because that drives me nuts, or if that's valid. I don't know. Does that make me a bad person?
It absolutely leads me to a story that happened today, literally today.
Breaking news.
I said no to an organization. I won't name them.
You know who you are.
But this is what happened. Last year, at around this time, they came in and asked for a donation. I offered them I will say, beautiful geological map. It's among our best sellers.
Okay.
It shows like geological map of the Finger Lakes region. It performs really well for us in the store.
Right.
And it has performed really well for organizations who are doing silent auctions in the past. So
Incredible.
I offered it to them last year. They didn't like that.
Oh, boy.
So they said that wasn't going to work for them, and could they please have this instead? So
the audacity.
I was a little put off, but I was willing to make a donation. The other item was of equal value, so I was like, okay, if that's going to work better for you, sure.
Ew.
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Here you go. But I still thought it was a little...
Ew, gauche.
Yes, let's say
it was
gauche.
a bit gauche.
So on the way out, the woman who was representing this organization says to me, well, this is a cute store. I should come back and check it out sometime. And I was like, you've never been in before. No, she'd never, ever, ever been in before. So I was rubbed wrong again.
So
I made a note on my bulletin board, never donate to this organization again.
Yes.
And today they called.
Today was your day. And finally.
And I was on the phone and I was like, yes, this is the moment I can give them a piece of my mind about how rude they were to me last year and how unappreciative they are. And I just didn't, because I hate confrontation. So I was just like, no, I don't think we're going to do that this year. But
and then
good luck with your event.
Slammed the phone down.
But then I said to my employee who was working today, like Cruella de Vil, kind of like Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah.
Kind of, now that'll teach them, my pretty. Now aren't you sorry?
Man, but it's true. Like the audacity of that woman. Now I understand that if you're going out on a donation drive, it's not necessarily financially plausible to buy something from every single business that you go into. But to go in, ask for something for free, then balk at what is given and ask for something else because what they gave you for free isn't up to your standards. And then not even be someone who supports this person or even really knew their shop existed in the first place. So how could you be choosy if you don't even know what their inventory is?
Well, maybe part of the reason they'd never been in my shop is because they're not even from my town. You know, they're not even from my city.
Right.
I don't know.
Layers and layers of bad form.
Yeah. Do you remember one time you and I were both asked, because we talked about it at the time, someone offered to advertise our business in exchange for us giving them 10% of our small business Saturday sales. Not advertise their, we would donate 10%
of all of
our small business Saturday sales to their cause.
Yeah.
That was...
that one hurt.
Why did it hurt? Tell me.
Well, It hurt because, well, number one, like many of these causes, it's a perfectly wholesome endeavor.
Yes.
That helps children
Yes.
and the community.
Yes, it's a good
rich.
cause.
It's a great cause.
Uh-huh.
And whoever, it was layers for me because I felt like whoever came up with this idea either didn't understand running a business, running a little shop, or really understood it and understood how much they would be pulling with that
Right.
kind of a
From
thing.
our busiest day.
It's one of our busiest days of the year. So it was a huge financial ask. And then I guarantee the person who came up with that didn't communicate that or think about that when they sent all these community members to go and ask people for this.
Well, I think also people are, when they ask for 10%, they think they're asking for 10% out of 100%.
Right.
They're not realizing that our margins on whatever we sell that day may be somewhere from 50 to 30%.
Right.
So 10%
is like a huge amount of our living bills not paid.
Yeah, that 10%, pays the mortgage or, it pays the electricity. It's not like I'm just rolling around with 90%.
Right.
After I give them 10%.
Yeah.
It's
super
profound.
Complicated.
Mm-hmm. But I did say, I remember saying to the woman on the phone, like, well, that is a great idea for whoever came up with it on your end. That's a really powerful gesture.
That's huge.
Like, that could be very meaningful to your organization.
Right.
But first of all, I have no idea how much that's going to be even.
Right.
Because I haven't experienced my small business Saturday this year. And if it's a terrible day, I can't afford to give it to you. And if it's the best day of the year, I am not willing to donate to your organization, 10 or 15 times as much as everybody else I've donated to this year.
Right.
One strategy besides the form that I've used is picking for myself a certain cause for each year.
Right.
So we're a bookstore, so maybe it's literacy. In fact, it has been 1 year. I've picked environmental issues that would make sense for you. Mm-hmm. So if somebody wants a donation for whatever other wonderful cause, it makes me feel more clear about declining that one for that particular moment.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's great advice. And that's something that you just made a light bulb go off in my head because we donate a portion of our proceeds of like our website to a particular environmental cause. Mm-hmm. And so for us, that always exists. And there are times when I've just had to say, we've already allotted what we can give this year. Mm-hmm. And, maybe next year. Because sometimes that you just have to say that, and that does make it feel a lot better if you go into the year kind of with intention about where you're going to put your giving, where you're going to give back,
and you got to put a ceiling on it. I mean, granted, you don't know what your income's going to be for any given year, but I think one thing that I've really struggled with is not putting a ceiling on it. Mm-hmm. So by the time October comes around, and I'm just like. I've lost half my inventory.
You've given away all your paychecks
silent auctions.
Yeah.
Do you ever target your giving in a way that you think is going to be? If you're going to be giving and giving and giving and giving, and you have to pick, do you ever pick around what you think is going to be good advertising for your business?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I mean, I don't always. Sorry, boys, but I don't always choose to donate a basket plastic-free self-care to the boys' football team. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm sure there's some men on that team that would appreciate it and who do and would like to shop in the store.
You know who your audience is.
Yeah, you know who you are. Mm-hmm. But, that one doesn't make a lot of sense for our demographic that I have on paper proven. So I think that's an important way to discern too.
Do you have people that you know the minute they walk in your store because you've seen them once a year for the past 5 years? You know they're only there to ask for a donation?
Yes. And they never come in for anything else.
Yes.
So you know exactly what they're there for.
Yes. I've started getting real saucy about that. As much as I hate conflict, I'll be like, oh, is it donation time? Like, just call them out. Like, oh, I haven't seen you in about 12 months. I figure it must be donation time.
Yeah.
You know, and
I love
think
it.
I've started getting a little bit just like boundaries.
Right.
Stop.
And that's not unkind. You saying that is not unkind. It's factual. That's why they are there.
I know. I'm just pointing out the truth.
You're just pointing out the elephant in the room. And if it makes them feel icky, it's not your fault that they only come in when they need money from you. Not your problem. I do the same thing. There's a couple people that come in only when they need something donated. And whether I can donate at the time or cannot donate at the time, sometimes I will say, oh, did you need anything from me today? Like, did you need anything from the store?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Can I get you anything? What can I do for you?
Yeah.
Like,
there was a gentleman who asked me for a donation last week, and he made a $4 purchase, and I gave him a $50 gift certificate. But I appreciated the fact that he was making a gesture.
That's all we want.
Yes.
That's all I want.
Just like a kind of nod. Like,
exactly.
I understand that in order to give me money, you need to make money. So it's just a respect.
Right. I wouldn't
It's
care.
not about the amount necessarily is my point.
Exactly
it's just
what I
about
was...
the acknowledgement.
Right. I wouldn't care if it was 50 cents. I don't care if you got one sesame stick from me, whatever. It's just acknowledging and having the self-awareness to know that if I don't make a sale, I might not be there next year for you to come in and ask for a donation.
Right. Well, this is the crux of it too, Marilla. Like, this is what keeps me up at night. I did do a quick little Google search to see how much money
I'm
Amazon
netted.
Amazon netted next year. And I do have a goal. I meant to do it earlier to divide by seconds how many dollars per second this is.
Oh my God.
That Amazon is netting, which is what they get to keep after all the bills are paid.
Right.
And
for those of you at home.
Yes.
Netting,
this is a business
your
podcast.
Yes, your net profit
is after everything else has been paid. So
all
it's
your bills are paid.
It's
what you get to roll around in the bathtub with.
Their net last year was over $20 billion. $20 billion.
Oh.
And that is more than I made.
What?
Right? It's more than I made last year. Slightly.
No, slightly.
I mean,
neck and neck. They were neck and neck the whole year.
Closing in on Jeff. But anyway, I did not make $20 billion last year. But I am certain that I've donated more to my community than Amazon has. And I'm certain that you did not make $20 billion last year. I don't mean to insult you and your business prowess.
I think you were in second place. I was a plucky fifth. Okay.
But I'm sure you donated more than Jeff and
to
Amazon
Geneva, New York.
Donated to, I am certain of it.
I could probably put money on that. Yeah.
So when you think about $20 billion, actually more than that leaving your community, because that's just the net. I can't even, I didn't Google the gross and I can't. But that's how much money is leaving your communities. And that is why it gets harder and harder and harder for local businesses to donate back to the organizations and causes that you find important. When I say you, I'm not talking about any of our listeners, because they, of course,
she's talking about me.
I'm talking about, people. You people. Some people.
Right. I know. Yes.
Right?
And every time something goes to Amazon, it means it's not going to Stomping Grounds, which is one less dollar that can go back to the good causes.
Which adds up to more than $20 billion. Yeah.
Yes.
Sale by sale by sale by sale by sale.
It's a vicious circle. And it sometimes feels a little unmerciful. But what can you do? I I was surprised because I had worked in retail for a long time and I was accustomed to the rhythm of like people coming in for donations and blah, blah, blah. But I was astounded at how fast it happened when I opened my doors.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I'm just a baby.
I've been open 4 hours.
I've been open 4 hours. I'm just a baby. I don't have any money. And I truly didn't at that time. I had used every penny that I possibly had and some that I didn't to get this place open. And it was comically quick that someone came in asking me for some of that money. And I didn't have, it wasn't really a thought. I was just like, I can't. I don't have any.
It's not here to give you.
It's not here. So if you're just
Would you like a sesame stick? Because that's all I can give you right now.
If you are just starting out, like, don't be too shooketh when people come in and ask you.
Don't worry. If you say no, they'll come again.
Yeah.
They'll be back. They'll try you again later.
They will try you again later. And also, you know, you've talked a few times during this conversation about donating like items to silent auctions and things like that. That's been a godsend for me. Quite often I can donate an item versus like a certain amount of like hundreds on a check.
Yes.
Like I would happily put together a basket. Mm-hmm. Because then you have some control
it shows
too.
Your product.
Right. It markets for you. You have control over like what you put in there. It might be something that you want people to know more about. It might be something that you need to move to make room for something. Like you can have some say in that, but there's not always once your store is full of stuff, you don't have a lot of gravy. That's just cold hard cash. Mm-hmm. So definitely I feel like for myself as a young business owner, asking if you can donate a product or a gift certificate is a big, big tip for maintaining a good relationship with the community, but also maintaining a boundary that says, okay, I'm not an endless faucet of cash.
Not an ATM. Yeah. And I know each person who comes in believes in their cause and doesn't realize that
for sure.
5 other people asked today, right?
Of course.
So it's not necessarily their fault when they're surprised that we wouldn't necessarily write a check right away.
Right.
Because they don't know what kind of a financial drain the donations are on us. Mm-hmm. So we can't fault them, but I do think that people could be a little bit more sensitive. I remember a story Yvette told about someone who had asked for a donation, and Yvette hesitated. Yvette being the owner of Earthly Possessions.
Local celebrity.
Season 2, episode 1. So, she got into a little bit of a tiff when the person asking for a donation was explaining to Yvette how basically she'd be a fool not to donate when this would be so good for her business.
Silly Yvette.
Yes. You should just donate, Yvette.
Just donate, Yvette.
Because it will be real good for your business when when the members of our organization
of course.
And so Yvette felt, I don't want to speak for her, Yvette. That's how Yvette felt.
We're already in this deep.
If I were Yvette, I might feel like, who is this woman telling me what is good for my business? And I think that's an example of that lady, that person being just out of touch with.
And ungracious.
Yeah.
And gauche, as I said earlier.
To put it a different way, the customer seemed to think that she was doing Yvette a favor by giving her the opportunity to donate to this certain cause.
What a woman.
Yeah.
What a woman. So, I guess it begs to question, when we're in our stores, peacefully living our lives, and someone comes in for a donation, if that someone is your sweet little grandmother or your best friend or your most lucrative customer, are you more inclined to donate to their cause? Is there a form of nepotism or favoritism when it comes to these donations? Notice I've excused myself from this question.
Well, I'm thinking, like, I'm scrolling back through certain moments. I mean, sure, like, if I know somebody personally and they're asking me for a donation to their kids' dance studio or something,
right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's easy and light, I'll say yes, right, because I know that person.
Right.
I don't feel too guilty about that because we all tend to donate the most to causes that are closest to us, right?
Of course. Look at the Girl Scouts.
But yeah, there's been, I'm thinking of one moment in particular where a customer who is very generous in my store and does buy a lot asked me for a donation to a cause. I was absolutely like, no way in my head. Ooh. No way. But I did feel a certain amount of pressure.
Right.
To like this customer, the customer, just to reveal a little bit more, the customer is quite well off, and the organization that she was supporting, to me, did not need money like
it was
Hungry
Amazon.
Kids. No. It was like just like from the outside looking in, I did not see that this organization was for people who were truly in need or suffering in our community. It wasn't a free lunch program. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I really struggled with that one because I didn't want to offend my customer, but I want to put my money where I think it's going to be better used.
Right.
So I did say no. So
Cold.
Does she still shop with me?
And you say I'm the mean one?
Oh my gosh.
Interesting.
What would you do?
You would do the same thing. I would do the same thing. Yeah. Say, hit the road, Jack. You're not getting any money.
Is that what you would say?
Yeah. I say, hey, Jack.
Jack, I realize that you're basically keeping this thing afloat. But no,
I would do the same thing. If I had a phenomenal customer that was asking, I would do the same thing. You know what I would do? I would be like, you know what? Leave me some information.
So I can throw it away.
You're laughing because you've done this before. I would say, why don't you leave me your information? And when we do the books this month, I'll let you know if we can contribute. Mm-hmm. If it's a customer that is so good to me, but we don't necessarily toe the same line, and they ask me, hey, do you want to donate to this thing that isn't your thing? It is always uncomfortable because with people that you don't necessarily agree with, sometimes your store is the only place that you really connect and can find common ground. So then in your store, you have to look each other in the eyes and be like, actually, we don't really
We're not friends.
We're not friends. Yeah. And so, no, that's always uncomfortable. Thankfully, I feel it doesn't happen too often, at least not egregiously, but I think that's a little bit of it. Like you want to, but you can, and then it's awkward because then you both have to think about how different you are.
Yeah. I think falling back on a corporate policy, except we're not really corporate and we don't really have policies.
You know. It's in red crayon in the back on the wall.
Yeah, just like having I'll collect your sheet along with the 15 other ones. Mm-hmm. And
put it on the pile.
We'll talk
the
it over.
top of the pile. Mm-hmm. Yep. I'll go over it with my books and my bookkeeper. And then no. Yeah, I guess it's like I never, ever, ever fault anyone ever for coming in and asking for money for something that they care about that is a good thing. You could do that every day of the year. I do not care. And you do. But, pay attention to what you're asking. Maybe be polite and gracious, and also don't look a gift horse in the mouth and say you don't want what we give you if that is what you're feeling like you want to do.
Just be polite.
Just be polite.
Yes.
This is turning into an etiquette podcast.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to throw a curveball at you.
All right, lay it on me. Hit me.
Have you, as a business, ever been in a position where you asked for donations?
Oh, girl,
I know the
I
answer.
Yes, I have.
Because I, as a business, have been in a position where I asked for donations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, look at us. We just ran our mouth for a good 30, 40 minutes about how these ungrateful impolites are always asking for money. And here we are. Asking for money.
I love on the podcast when we find out that we're total hypocrites.
Self-discovery. It's a beautiful thing. So there was this one time where I almost got sued and I had to pay for an attorney and also a lot of merchandise that went down the drain. And I didn't have the money for it. Not even close. I didn't.
Now, I'm going to suss this out a little bit because we have mentioned it on past episodes.
Yes.
You were being asked to change the name of your business.
Yes. Right? For those of you that are just joining us, when I began my entrepreneurial journey, my shop was called...
Oh, what a great name.
Doesn't it just roll off the tongue?
I love it.
Me too.
But that caused
unfortunately, someone thought that I was being too successful and said I had to change my name or else I would change my name or else. Mm-hmm. Pretty much. And so to avoid getting my pantsuit off of me, I chose to change the name of my store. I didn't do that to avoid getting sued. I wouldn't have gotten sued. Maybe I would have. Who knows?
The thing is, you didn't know.
Anyway, I didn't know.
You had to talk to attorneys.
I had to talk to attorneys because I'm no lawyer. Clearly.
Right.
I have a podcast. I'm not an attorney. So I had a lot of bills to pay. I didn't have the money, and I had to appeal to our community to raise some money to cover that cost.
To change your brand, too. I mean, relaunching a brand is not a small endeavor.
No.
And investing in new signage, getting new merchandise, all that kind of stuff.
Wildly expensive.
Okay, so I'm just saying, I guess what I'm feeling is, no wonder you had to ask for donations.
Right. No, if you really wanted to suss it out, if you're somebody listening and you really want to suss it out, you could probably dig up the GoFundMe somewhere, but it was to the tune of thousands of dollars that I didn't have. So it wasn't like I just was like, oh my God, I don't have $500. It was a lot of money.
Yes.
It cost
and you had just started a business. You were in the baby stages.
I was just a baby.
Yes. Where you don't have money to throw around. Every sesame stick counts.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It was wild.
I'm getting riled up.
I know I'm sweaty. But all this to say, long story, edited shortly into a very small segment. I had to ask our community for donations and donations and donations. I cried a lot.
Yeah.
I cried a lot.
Was it like, did it hurt your pride?
Yeah, it was an interesting journey because there was pride involved, and then to make the decision that we ultimately decided to make, it involved putting all of that pride aside. And I think there was also a feeling of like, once we had put the information out there and asked for the donation and we started raising money, there was also a feeling of responsibility to everybody who had given us anything to succeed.
Yes.
Because now everybody is literally invested in our success. So it was quite an emotional experience. And I recognize that for a lot of people coming in and asking for donations, it is an emotional experience. Maybe not as raw and dire as mine at the time, but it was humbling to be on that side of the table with such an urgent request.
Yeah. So I've also had to do that for my business when we had a flooding disaster
Oh, my God.
in my store, and we lost tons of merchandise, and found that the building that we were in was not sustainable for our future there. So we had to suddenly, in the night, the business was suddenly shut down, and we needed to find a new location. The move, the advertising that goes into it, and of course there was insurance money. Yes, it paid for the literal merchandise or the cost of the original merchandise, but that was months in coming, and it didn't cover all the additional expenses that went along. And at the time, like you, we were very, very young as a business. There was no buffer. There was no pad. There was no, okay, I got a couple $1,000s to make sure everybody
is okay. Yeah, no, it's
So I had to ask. I think we did an Indiegogo.
Oh, and classic.
God, I found it very humbling, and exposing, and sometimes still induces guilt when I see people who I know was just so generous in ways that I never could have anticipated or expected. Or
did you cry over anybody?
Oh my gosh, yeah,
I cried. I
could cry
people
right now. Yeah,
we could just cry. Then Kelly could have some good sounds that he could plug in wherever he wanted.
Instead of the laughing, we could just switch it up a little bit with some hysterical sobbing. But it was awful and wonderful.
And that's what I was going to say.
It did make me feel so deeply connected to the community in a way that I never would have without that kind of tragedy. There was 75 or 100 people, a couple of them in this room right now. Kelly Walker, thank you very much. That saved my business. And so this complaining that we do about the constant giving, it does not.
It's just fatigue. It's just good old fashioned fatigue and grumpiness.
It's not that I don't think people should ask for money, and it's not that I don't or you don't think that you want to give back to help good causes in the community.
No, so, in fact, we have been so greatly blessed by the communities that we're in. And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for donations.
Yes.
So here we are, two hypocrites having tea with a couple of microphones. There you go.
Well, you got any closing words about donations? Or did you just say them?
I said my piece.
I would like to thank the people in our community who are doing good work.
This is why you're a better person than me.
I would like to also thank again for the billionth time people who donated to Marilla's business and mine to keep them here in the community.
Yep.
And let's do a 5-star review.
Let's do it. Yes, a 5-star review. Number 1, it goes to our community for being great. But that was just an ad lib.
Okay,
Beth didn't know that was coming.
Let's do another 5-star review.
All right,
a second.
All right, we do have a real one.
Yeah.
We have another 5-star review. And this week's 5-star review goes to... Oh, drum roll. Good idea.
Ready to knock on wood? Kelly loves on wood.
It goes to our very own Linden Social Club.
Yes.
On Linden Street in Geneva, New York.
Right around the corner. Really, from both of us.
From both of us. In fact, right kind of in the middle.
Yeah,
so if we wanted to meet for drinks.
In fact, we have.
We have.
What do you know?
What episode was that? Episode 4. We all met there for a lovely drink.
Ramos Gin Fizz.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
A Ramos Gin Fizz. Because the Linden Social Club is the type of bar that you can go in and order a Ramos Gin Fizz, and they will make you a Ramos Gin Fizz that will
a complicated drink.
Knock your socks off. It tastes like key lime pie grown up. And alcoholic.
I know that was the grown up part.
Yeah. It's a delightful spot. Very much speakeasy vibes.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the decor is speakeasy for sure. And kind of, it does feel a little bit local and special and secret. So that's the speakeasy element of it.
For sure. Yes. Not just the decor, which that's a good point, and we're not going to go crazy, but there's so many places that kind of capitalize on the speakeasy decor and vibe, but like it doesn't really capture the essence of like, oh, you got to know about this place.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's the Linden Social Club.
We're blowing their cover.
We're blowing their cover, but we're not going to tell you the password. No.
Well, what I like about it is I particularly like going there in the summer because you can just get your drink or your munchies and go out on the street and hang out and listen to music, or listen to music inside for that matter. But I really like the food too.
Great menu, great chef.
Yeah. Like every
They've
time
got
I
it
go,
going
I'm
on.
like, man,
Staff's great. They have a great brunch.
No, I haven't tried that yet, but I've heard people say that it's wonderful.
Great. It's a great place to be. So check it out if you're in Geneva, New York.
Linden Street,
the Linden Social Club.
We chat about the biz, it is the way it is. Thank you for understanding.
We sincerely thank you for understanding. Please visit us at tyfupod.com to learn more about the show, share prompt ideas, or tell us about your own small business experiences. We may include your story in a future episode. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at tyfupod or on tyfupod.com. Our theme song was composed by Marilla Gonzalez. The show is produced by Kelly Walker. Too bad for Kelly Walker.
There is always somebody needing money, and most of the time it's us.